the place that time missed. Ethan's heart drummed in his chest as he stepped further into the underground chamber. The air was thick, dense with the weight of years, decades, maybe centuries of disuse. Every breath felt heavier than the last. The eerie silence was broken only by the faint hum of something electrical. Something that shouldn't have been running, but was. He couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. The facility stretched out before him, a labyrinth of metal and stone that looked like it belonged in another time. Cold steel walls, rusted but intact, rose up around him. He passed doorways marked with symbols that didn't resemble any language he knew, faded and cracked with age. His flashlight's beam flickered and danced along the surfaces, catching on dust and the strange markings, but offering no answers. The first room he entered was lined with dusty, broken equipment. Metal desks, charred and bent, sat abandoned beneath layers of grime. Old machinery dials, buttons, screens cracked long ago still stood like forgotten relics. The eerie stillness was unnerving, but the longer he stayed in this room, the more it became apparent that whatever had happened here, it wasn't some accidental abandonment. This had been a place of purpose. He turned on his camera, capturing the scene. It was a habit, really a professional reflex. But this felt different. This wasn't a quirky find to share with his small YouTube audience. This felt ... wrong. Ethan moved deeper into the facility, drawn by a strange magnetic pull toward the far end of the chamber. He had no idea what to expect, but a gnawing feeling in his gut told him whatever it wasn't going to be good. His footfalls echoed as he approached a large, darkened doorway. The metal doors were intact, but rusted. The paint was chipped, and some of the symbols from the other rooms were painted here as well. On the door, a single word was barely visible in the dim light. Research. He pushed it open. Inside, the room was empty, almost too empty. There were no desks, no machinery. Just a large glass cylinder in the center, about 10 feet tall. Its surface was smooth and untouched, though the glass had become clouded with age and neglect. At first, Ethan assumed it was just another artifact, another piece of forgotten history. But something about it felt ... alive. There was a presence. An energy surrounding the cylinder that he couldn't explain. His flashlight flickered again as he approached, and he felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Inside the cylinder, there was nothing. No subject, no object, nothing at all. Just emptiness. He stepped closer, his fingers twitching toward the camera as he filmed the eerie sight. Then, something caught his eye. Behind the cylinder, carved deep into the metal of the wall, was a message. The words were etched with such precision that they looked almost fresh, though the rust around them suggested otherwise. His stomach tightened. If you are reading this, it has escaped. Ethan froze. The hairs on his neck bristled. He moved closer, fingers tracing the words carved into the cold metal. What escaped? He swallowed hard, turning back toward the glass cylinder, his mind racing. This couldn't be a coincidence. The map, the symbols, the abandoned facility was all connected? But to what? To who? A loud bang echoed through the chamber, and Ethan jumped, his camera slipping from his hand. It clattered to the floor, but he barely noticed. His pulse raced as he spun toward the sound. The noise had come from the far side of the facility, deeper into the structure. Was it someone else? Another explorer? No, it was too quiet for that. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to leave too, turn around and run. But his curiosity anchored him to the spot. He grabbed his camera, muting the sound of his breath as he crept toward the source of the noise. The air was colder now, the silence stretching longer. As he moved deeper into the facility, He could feel it's something in the air. Something watching him. The shadows in the corners seemed to shift. The sound came again, another loud bang, followed by the distinct scrape of metal on metal. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't alone. He turned the corner into another hallway, this one darker than the last. The beam of his flashlight danced erratically across the walls, revealing strange, unidentifiable symbols. They looked like part of a language, but they made no sense. His head swam with the possibilities, each one darker than the last dot. Then, at the end of the hall, he saw it, a door, barely ajar. He approached cautiously, every step dragging with dread. When he reached it, he pushed it open with a low creak. Inside, the room was small, containing little more than a desk, some filing cabinets, and shelves lined with notebooks and papers. The desk had been overturned, as though someone had left in a hurry, or, perhaps, had been forced to leave. Ethan bent down, searching through the papers. Most of them were torn, faded beyond recognition. But there, among the dust and debris, was a journal. Its cover was worn and torn, but it seemed to hold some weight, as if it contained something important. He opened it carefully. The first entry was dated 1947. And as he read the pages, it all began to make sense, or, at least, part of it did. The journal belonged to Dr. Samuel Hargreave, the leader of the expedition that had originally explored this facility. The entry spoke of a strange phenomenon, an anomaly that existed just outside the boundaries of time. This place wasn't just a research site, it was a gateway. A place where the laws of time didn't apply. The things they discovered here were not just lost to time, they had been waiting. Ethan's mind raced as he flipped through the pages. Hargreaves' notes were meticulous, but his last entry was different. We were wrong. It doesn't want to stay hidden anymore. The chill deepened, and Ethan's eyes widened. His hand trembled as he reached the final page, where something had been hastily scribbled. If you are reading this, don't stay. It won't let you leave. Ethan closed the journal with a soft click, his heart pounding. Couldn't make sense of everything yet, but one thing was clear. This was bigger than a lost research facility. This wasn't just an abandoned place. This was a trap. Suddenly, the room grew even colder. The silence became oppressive, and a shadow flickered across the far wall. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The shadow moved. The watcher's Ethan's flashlight flickered out, leaving him in complete darkness. His heart pounded against his chest as he slapped the flashlight, trying to coax it back to life. It was no use. In the absolute silence, the absence of sound seemed to grow louder. Even the faint hum of electricity that had filled the room moments ago had ceased. He stood still, breathing heavily. His mind raced. His camera, still recording, sat uselessly on the cold, rusted floor. Everything felt wrong. The shadow he had seen in the corner of his vision, the one that moved but hadn't quite revealed itself, was still out there. Somewhere, waiting. Ethan reached into his bag, feeling for a spare flashlight, but the emptiness around him was suffocating. It felt as though the walls were closing in. Then, a sound broke through the silence, a faint rustle. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. The noise came from the far end of the hallway, distant, but unmistakable. It wasn't an animal or a natural sound. It was, purposeful. Slow. Stealthy. Footsteps. Ethan froze, straining to hear more. His heartbeat thudded in his ears, but the footsteps came again. Closer this time. Hello? He called into the dark, his voice small, uncertain. Who's there? No answer. Just more footsteps. The sound of something or someone moving carefully through the chamber. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. His instincts screamed at him to move, to run, but his feet felt like they were rooted to the ground. He slowly turned his head, eyes scanning the darkness, but there was no sign of anyone. His camera sat untouched, the screen faintly glowing. In the corner of his eye, a low creak echoed from the far hallway. Too slow, too careful, Ethan thought. Whoever it was, they knew exactly where to step, where to avoid. This wasn't an accident. The footsteps stopped. Complete silence. His body tensed. Ethan slowly began to inch his way toward the corner of the hallway, his steps tentative and careful. As he turned, he felt a sudden, sharp chill in the eerie presence, something just out of sight. Lurking in the shadows, his breath came faster. Now, Annie finally gathered the courage to move forward, pushing himself past the threshold. He needed to know who or what was there. The air grew thicker, colder, like he had stepped into another world entirely. And then, the faintest whisper echoed down the hall. It wasn't a voice he recognized, but the tone was unmistakable. "You shouldn't be here." Ethan froze again, his blood running cold. The voice was quiet, almost drowned by the oppressive silence, but it was there close. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded, his voice trembling. "What do you want?" There was no response, only the faint echo of that same whisper, this time coming from directly behind him. He spun around, eyes wide, but saw nothing. The shadows in the room seemed deeper now, more oppressive, as if they were waiting. And then a figure. A man. Standing just beyond the reach of his flashlight's beam. His appearance was strange. He was dressed in worn clothing, but not the modern kind. His clothes were faded, threadbare, like they had been stuck in time for years. His face was pale, gaunt, with dark eyes that stared at Ethan as if he had seen. Too much already, Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He tried to speak, but his voice caught. The man simply watched him, unmoving, silent. "I've been here a long time." The man finally spoke, his voice deep but raspy, as though he hadn't spoken in decades. Longer than time remembers, Ethan's confusion deepened. "What? What do you mean? Who are you?" The man took a step forward, his movements slow and deliberate. "I am Jacob," he said. "I've been here since the beginning." Ethan's mind raced. The beginning? What did that mean? This man looked like he should be dead. The clothes he wore, the expression on his face, he was like something pulled from a time that shouldn't exist. I don't understand, Ethan said. His voice a little stronger now, though fear still clung to his words. "This place. What is this place?" Jacob's eyes softened, just for a moment, as if he had been expecting this question for a long time. "This is where it began. Where everything that was lost didn't disappear. It waited." Ethan's head spun as he tried to process the words. "What is lost waits to be found?" The words from the map echoed in his mind. This isn't just an old research facility, is it?" He gestured to the dark room around him. "What are you talking about?" Jacob's gaze became distant, his expression tightening. "It's a place outside of time," he said, as though the words themselves were heavy. "A place where things don't disappear. They get trapped. And those who come searching for them, they stay." The walls of the facility felt closer, now pressing in on him as though they had heard Jacob's words. Ethan glanced at the dark corners of the room, half expecting something to emerge. The air was thick with tension. "I don't know how much time I have left," Jacob continued, his voice growing quieter. "The anomaly is growing stronger. It's attracted to curiosity. It feeds on it." He looked at Ethan with piercing eyes. "And it's waiting for you now." Ethan's mind reeled. For me? Why? Because you found it? You followed the map? And now? You won't be able to leave, Jacob said, his voice growing colder. The map wasn't a mistake, Ethan. It was a lure, a way to bring someone. Here's someone who could find the way out. Ethan shook his head. No, I won't stay here. I'll get out. I came here to film a story. That's all. I can leave. Jacob didn't smile, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. You don't get to leave, he said. Not unless you know the truth. Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. What truth? What are you talking about? Jacob turned, his voice lowering to a whisper. The truth is this: if you leave, it follows you. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. It never stops. A long silence hung in the air. Ethan stepped back, shaking his head. I don't believe you, he whispered. You're lying. Jacob's gaze never left him. Then you have a choice to make. You can leave now, but you won't be able to escape it forever. Or you can stay and burn the map. Ethan's heart raced as his mind processed the weight of Jacob's words. Could it be true? Could there be something to this? Something beyond the ordinary? Jacob's next words were simple but devastating. Burn the map, he repeated, and it won't follow you. Ethan stood there, his thoughts spinning. He had come too far to turn back now. But was Jacob right? Could something be following him? Watching him? Waiting for him? With a heavy heart, Ethan knew one thing for sure: he wasn't leaving this place the same way he entered. The world had changed. And now, so had he.
Thank you for watching. The continuation will be coming soon. You can subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.